Urban legends, no matter how scary, are stories passed down as a way to preserve cultural history and to warn against societal dangers. From paranormal stories of spirits unknown to creepy wilderness creatures with a weird history, these tales can be a scary story meant for entertainment, though some parts of the world believe these urban legends are mostly strange but true. One of the most famous urban legends of India is the story of Nale Ba. If you visit some of the more forbidden villages in India, you might see the words Nale Ba written across their front doors. Correct pronunciations vary depending on who is sharing the story, but the phrase, which means "come tomorrow," pertains to a scary story about an evil witch ghost who visits towns across the region. The witch is often said to choose male victims in particular, but some towns say the ghost will go after just about anyone who opens the door. The unspeakable spirit knocks on every door in the village and somehow knows the names of all inside. Some survivors say she speaks in the voice of someone they know, often family members. Those foolish enough to open the door are whisked from home or otherwise perish under mysterious circumstances within 24 hours. Others say the witch visits each home specifically in search of a husband. To overcome this strange threat, locals began writing the words "come tomorrow" on their doors. According to the urban legend, the scary witch would see this message and wait until the next night to return, only to be fooled by the message again. Although the legend has become popular over time, the moral of this story is to warn children not to answer the door at night. Although the urban legend is most likely fake, it's scary that parents would have to invent such a legend to prevent children from answering the door late at night for family imposters. Urban legends in Beltsville, Maryland speak of an infamous creature known as the Goat Man. Scary stories about this creature originated in the 1950s and persist to this day. The origins of the Goat Man differ from person to person and scary story to scary story, but most encounters center around one place in particular. Legend has it that the Beltsville Agricultural Research Center was experimenting on a goat and accidentally transformed the creature into a half-man, half-goat beast with a penchant for carnage. The wild creature broke out of the research facility and has been on the run ever since. According to some encounters, the Maryland Goat Man is said to wait with an axe for unsuspecting people to wander by. Residents from Fletchertown Road to Governor's Bridge Road are said to be strictly off limits at night. Those who are brave or foolish enough to drive their cars down to the bridge at night say that they were chased while hearing a strange mix of human screams and shrill goat noises. There have also been a few creepy photographs taken of the supposed Goat Man of Maryland, and even a few videos of the urban legend in action, though skepticism abounds. For the people of Chile and Argentina, the tale of Chon Chon is said to be one of the scariest stories ever told. In local folklore, the urban legend of Chon Chon tells of a disturbing bird-like creature that is said to bring with it bad luck to any village or town. The Chon Chon is said to repeatedly make the sound tui, a call that makes superstitious people in Chile and Argentina panic and fear, for its cries herald a warning of a terrible event that will befall residents within time. According to ancient history, the Chon Chon creature has a detachable human head with large ear-like wings along with feathers. It has been said that the Chon Chon was once a human wizard who used transformation magic to fly. As with many other urban legends, there are many ways to keep this mythology's bad luck bird at bay. In many cases, you can throw ash into the air or else recite prayers and hymns as the creature approaches. Some people may also draw protective seals on the ground in a desperate bid to keep the evil creature from landing in their village. In reality, owls and other birds often get mistaken for the Chon Chon, and farmers will often shoo away owls out of superstitious habit just to be safe. Scandinavian folktales don't get much more frightening than the story of the Gjenganger, a paranormal, vampire-like creature dating all the way back to the Vikings, who largely feared nothing except for this urban legend. Said to be the physical embodiment of fresh spirits condemned to walk the earth once more, the Yenganjir highly resembled modern-day zombie stories. The name Yenganjir roughly translates to walking again, but unlike ghost sightings, Yenganjirs are not transparent and resemble people. Like zombies, if you're unlucky enough to be bitten or attacked, you'll join them. The specifics behind this eerie urban legend vary by country and region. Some scary stories speak of those who rise again to seek revenge. Other tales say that simply meeting a particularly gruesome and unexpected ending is enough to rise again as one. Some see this as a personal punishment for shirking responsibilities or else fleeing from the battlefield. Others say this is divine punishment for having a lack of faith. Although zombie sightings are unlikely, many cultures throughout history believed this urban legend to be mostly true. As a precaution, families would often either conceal or cover the grave sites of their loved ones after burial. Religious iconography would also be placed around the headstones, and prayers recited over the areas so that they would not rise again. Over the years, the story of the Yenganjir has taken on many forms and is still a popular folklore figure across the Scandinavian countries. In the early 1800s, the Bell family moved from North Carolina to the Red River in Tennessee and built themselves a huge home and farm on over 1,000 acres of land. This farm came to be known as the Bell Farm. The family were already wealthy from their ventures in North Carolina, and their new homestead provided additional wealth until 1817, when a string of bizarre occurrences gave birth to the infamous urban legend known as the Bell Witch. That was the year that John Bell, the patriarch of the family, first spotted signs in the shape of a strange dog-like creature in his cornfield. The creature quickly disappeared, but little did John know that this scary encounter was just the beginning of more horror stories. Over the next few weeks, the family experienced booming knocks all around the home wherever they sat down for dinner. According to the legend, members of the family reported hearing strange knocking on the windows and doors, along with the sounds of heavy chains being dragged across the floor. The sounds of wings flapping and large thuds quickly followed, and soon the family were unable to live in peace as the noises grew louder and louder, until one day the paranormal mystery became physical. After they'd had enough of randomly getting pinched, having their hair pulled, and other similar events, the family turned to outside help. Some in the local community stated that the spirit was that of the Bell Witch, a woman who had feuded with the Bell family in the past. Others told stories of the Bell Witch being the spirit of a woman who had been buried on the Bell farm and had been disturbed when they moved there. Either way, the torment for the Bell family continued, and as months passed, the paranormal stories grew stranger and scarier. During this time, the Bell Witch is said to have made mysterious predictions about the Civil War and other historical events that were yet to occur. She told John that she would come back 100 years from now and tell more scary stories of the future to his ancestors. In a strange but true twist, his descendants would later claim to have been visited by the same mysterious creature. Though this could be a fake event, in December of 1820, John Bell mysteriously passed away, supposedly at the hand of the Bell Witch. Members of the family claimed to have heard the Bell Witch giggling and bragging about how she had finally gotten rid of John. The Bells were far from free though, and the family curse continued until 1821. Then, just as mysteriously as the Bell Witch had appeared, she disappeared, and only the paranormal stories remained in her place. The family were finally freed, and some still say the scary urban legends are mostly true. In reality, skeptics say that these paranormal stories were directly caused by arsenic, which was commonly used in clothing and paper products at the time. Furthermore, arsenic was medically prescribed to treat everything from joint problems to diabetes. A mysterious vial that may or may not have been the substance in question was said to be found in his medicine cabinet. So could this have been the true source of his paranormal stories? On the island of Molokai, Hawaii, surrounded by steep cliffs, is the Kalaupapa Peninsula. The peninsula is now a national park with a dark and disturbing backstory, as 8,000 people were once forced to live here. They've left behind a ghost town of cemeteries scattered across the region, 1,000 headstones marked from 1890 to 1969. In the early 19th century, American colonizers arrived on the Hawaiian Islands, and with them a strange mysterious condition known as leprosy that no one could explain at the time. In an attempt to prevent its spread across the islands, Hawaii signed an isolation act allowing lepers to be forced into a quarantine colony, which quickly became some of the scariest places on Earth. At Kalaupapa, colony residents were well provided for by the Hawaiian government, but they were still trapped against their will, many of them far from home. Some recalled being taken away from their parents as children. Once banished into this scary place, you were forbidden to ever leave. The general consensus among adults was that you were brought to the peninsula to perish. By the 1940s, a cure had emerged. However, the colony at Kalaupapa remained open until 1969, when forced quarantine was finally repealed by law. By this time, some had spent their entire lives isolated on the peninsula. As recently as 2015, there are still 6 full-time residents, all octogenarians or older. Aside from this, the rest of the colony is a ghost town, and all that remains of the site's scary history are the 1,000 or so markers left behind, though they're slowly being reclaimed by nature. Soon, there will be nothing left on the peninsula to mark this dark period of history. In one 1953 picture from the Australian town of Wittenoom, 2 toddlers play in a mysterious blue sand pit. A dark and disturbing backstory makes this photo particularly creepy. The boys, Philip Noble and Ross Monroe, would both have their lives cut short before they reached the age of 40, and the blue sand in their creepy children's photo was more than likely the culprit. The weird history behind Wittenoom, where the boys grew up, began as a company town built in 1947 to house local miners. From the late 40s until the 60s, this small town was Australia's only supplier of blue asbestos, used for installation and in plastics and cement. At its height, the area had nearly 20,000 residents and could hardly be considered a ghost town, but that would soon change. Asbestos is a dangerous carcinogen. When dust containing asbestos is inhaled or ingested, minuscule fibers can damage the body over time, particularly the lungs, though this was unknown back then. One health inspector visiting in 1959 remarked that asbestos covered the roads, kicking up in clouds under car tires. In a dark and disturbing way, business was thriving. It wasn't until the mining operations were declared unprofitable in 1966, mostly due to falling asbestos prices, that employment opportunities ceased and the population declined. Today, Wittenoom is a ghost town with no power grid, no postal service, and no road maintenance. Blue piles of asbestos still dot the landscape. In 2008, Australia declared a Wittenoom asbestos contamination area surrounding the former town. The land is officially not suitable for any form of human occupation or land use. A staggering number of residents, over 2,000 in total, have succumbed to the very element that once granted the small town its success. The town remains one of the scariest places on Earth because the odds of passing away from a health complication while living there are up to 83% greater than the average Australian. Despite this, 3 people still remain. It seems as though former Wittenoom residents still carry a part of that landscape with them, in the form of blue asbestos buried deep within their skin and lungs. The full implications of the ghost town's dark and creepy history are still being realized. Oradour-sur-Glane was once one of many pastoral townships dotting the French countryside in the 20th century. The small town had a post office, a train station, separate schools for boys and girls, and several shops and farms. June of 1944, marks the darkest moments in this future ghost town's history. Oradour-sur-Glane was located squarely within German-occupied France during World War II. As a warning to the French resistance in the area, the German soldiers told the town's 650 citizens to gather at the town square for a routine identity check. From there, the men were placed in barns and the women and children in the church. They barred the doors of the buildings and systematically set the village aflame. Just 7 survivors out of 650 lived to tell their true horror stories, many of whom survived under the bodies of their friends and families. It's clear that the town of Oradour-sur-Glane is a place of true historical horror. But what makes this ghost town particularly creepy is the intent of those who left it standing. It's one of the few intentional memorials to the towns destroyed by Germans across occupied France. As early as 1946, the decision was made to preserve the 40 acres of damaged ruins as a national memorial. Today, the town serves as a symbol of remembrance. More than 300,000 people visit annually to learn about the town's dark history and to honor those who perished. Lincoln County, Washington is a serene and rural place, except for the nearly empty fields that were once the town of Govan. Today, Govan is little more than a ghost town, consisting of an abandoned schoolhouse and a few dilapidated buildings. But the region has a dark and scary history. The construction of the Central Washington Railway in 1889 and the discovery of a large natural sandbank in 1899 created what some historians have called a boomtown atmosphere in Govan. The sand was perfect to use in construction. As many as 75 workmen and families settled nearby to begin the extraction process. By 1900, Govan had its own railway depot, a post office, and several stores. And by 1905, the one-room schoolhouse had been added. Yet despite the area's economic successes, it was beset by a history of unexplained events. In 1902, the township's judge, J.A. Lewis, and his wife Penelope were found in their own home. Someone had used an axe on them. Less than a year later was a seemingly random attack on C.S. Fiends, a patron of the Govan Saloon. Fiends was confronted by an armed man in a mask and did not survive the encounter. Neither of these crimes were ever solved. Some theorized that the Lewis case may have been due to the large sums of cash which the judge reportedly kept in his home, but this was never confirmed. After the incidents, the town of Govan was never quite the same. A few years later, in 1927, a fire wiped out most of the town's building district. The town was rebuilt, but there were reports of paranormal stories at the former location of the saloon. Some theorized that rebuilding the town instead of solving the mystery angered the apparition. When US Highway 2 was built in 1942, bypassing the area, this was the last straw for the remaining residents. As quickly as they had arrived, they abandoned the small town, leaving nothing behind but a few buildings and whatever ghosts were inside. A famous ghost town in Ukraine has been abandoned for more than 30 years. Its 50,000 residents appeared to have vacated in a hurry, leaving behind children's toys, books, and medicine bottles, and a surprising number of gas masks. This desolate city, called Pripyat, is located near the center of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, and it's one of the scariest places in world history. Sitting just under 2 miles from the former power plant, Pripyat's residents received hundreds of times the normal dosage of background radiation on April 26, 1986, when a catastrophic nuclear meltdown occurred at Chernobyl. The historic event began the day before, while the reactor was powered down for routine maintenance. Operators decided to use this downtime to conduct a stress test that was meant to see if the reactor could be cooled down while the power was off. The test failed and caused the horrible events we know today. As helicopters unsuccessfully dumped sand and water onto the ensuing blaze, authorities were slow to evacuate the city, taking almost 36 hours and prolonging everyone's exposure. The direction of the wind was the only thing that spared residents from the most horrifying radiological effects. 35 years later, the buildings stand tall. 3 pools and even an amusement park serve as a creepy reminder of the place's once high-tech history. Old belongings are still where their owners left them, except where they've been disturbed by tourists and explorers. The clocks are even all frozen at 11:55, the moment the electricity was cut. The ghost town remains one of the creepiest places on Earth for numerous reasons, a place so forbidden that you can only visit with a licensed guide to watch over you. The area has a series of rules that would sound weird if not for its history. You cannot touch anything, put anything down, or pick anything up. Clothing must cover most of the body. No short sleeves, skirts, or sandals. This is to prevent radioactive particles from entering through your skin. Sitting or lying down is an absolute health hazard. Eating outside is likewise forbidden because radioactive particles can land on your food and get ingested. The 18-mile exclusion zone is estimated to remain for at least 20,000 years as the uranium gradually degrades from the environment. It's doubtful that the ghost town of Pripyat will last even a fraction of that long, but for now, its buildings still stand as an eerie reminder of one of the darkest moments in history. Spiritual photography was hugely popular in the 1870s. Many found solace in the mysterious photos of their departed loved ones, comforted by the idea that they were not completely alone. One such photographer, William Mumler, created quite a stir when he revealed that he had caught the likeness of Abraham Lincoln's ghost on camera in a creepy photo that should not exist. This alleged ghost sighting came after Mary Todd Lincoln visited him in 1872. She had just lost her husband and child and hoped that their ghosts could be caught on camera. Mumler claimed to see Lincoln's spirit enter the building behind Mary, and after the vintage photo was taken, the eerie image of Abraham Lincoln was revealed in the background, standing behind Mary with his hands on her shoulders, as if he was trying to comfort her. The peculiar paranormal portrait was a huge boost to Mumler's business as more and more people flocked to his studio to have their own photographs taken, hoping to catch a mysterious glimpse of deceased family members and friends. This was until Boston residents began making some strange and disturbing observations about the photos. Locals realized that the ghost sightings were actually people in Boston who were still alive. Exposed as a con artist, Mumler moved to New York where he was arrested on charges of fraud. However, with no proof that the creepy photos were faked, he was set free and continued to fool many with his charades for years after. In the modern era, experts have been able to solve the mystery behind the mysterious photos. They were very likely the result of intentional double exposure, a technique that was very new in the 1800s, in which 2 different images were overlaid onto the same photo. The historic photos have since become some of the most famous faked pictures in memory. A bizarre vintage photo taken by an unknown person in November of 1941 was first revealed in 2004 at the Bralorne Pioneer Museum in Canada. The exhibit was called "Their Past Lives Here." In 2010, the museum decided to publish the photos online, historic photos that were disturbing to some. The photo became a creepy internet mystery when people noticed a strange man who looked out of place, leading to speculation that this picture is real evidence of a time traveler from the 21st century. Those who think this is a real time traveler list 3 mysterious anomalies about the photo. First, the man seemed to be wearing a t-shirt with print on it, a style that wasn't popular in the 40s. Second, the man's sunglasses looked like modern wraparound glasses. Third, he was holding a camera that seemed too small to have existed back then. But as it turns out, the mystery behind this strange photo can be solved, as is so often the case. The photo becomes less disturbing when you realize that the shirt the man is wearing was a Montreal Maroons shirt, a National Hockey League team, until 1938. These printed shirts were available to the public. The seemingly out-of-place sunglasses were also available in the 40s as well. And lastly, the camera that the man is holding has been proven to have been produced by Kodak and was available for purchase in the 40s. Though rumors persist that the vintage photo contains a time traveler, research has shown that although he isn't dressed in the same manner as the others in the crowd, he was merely another bystander looking to take a few photos of a memorable event. According to an inscription on the back, the vintage photo was taken at the reopening of the Southport Bridge in British Columbia. Though the mystery has been largely solved, the true identity of the man has never been confirmed. A fire chief from East Jordan in Michigan got the shock of his life when his motion sensor security camera captured a mysterious photo that he believes shows something of supernatural origins. As the backstory goes, Glenn Thorman says he was surprised when he looked at the bizarre photo a second time, and he was instantly convinced that he had captured an angel on camera. The photo shows Glenn's truck parked outside his residence. Above the truck is the image of a bizarre, unknown object that many agree is the shape of an angel hovering in a robe, wings spread. Glenn became excited as soon as he saw the weird shape in the photo, and he immediately forwarded it to his pastor, Danielle Mose, who agreed an angel had been caught on camera. He then shared the image on the Jordan Rivers Church Facebook page, where it garnered a lot of interest from believers and skeptics alike. He added a caption to the photo, in which he states that there's no doubt who is looking after Glenn's house while he and his family are asleep. He also added that the photos have not been doctored by anyone, and that they are 100% real. When asked about what was caught hiding in the background of the weird photo, Glenn stated that he had never seen an angel before, but he was convinced that he now had. As the unsolved case grew more famous, a journalist named Connor Hansen took the odd images to Joe Clark, the owner of a photographic studio, for a closer look. The expert later determined that the photo had not caught an angel on camera. According to him, the shape of the figure closely resembles a moth. The wings are as clearly visible as the insect's head, but he added that since the photo isn't perfectly in focus, people are free to interpret the image in their own way. Despite this explanation, Glenn has held his firm belief that he has captured the image of an angel on his security camera. He says that he's been inundated with messages from people who share his excitement over this mystery, adding that he and his family have prayed for angels to be sent to their house to watch over them. He believes that the strange photo proves that his prayers have been answered. On the 11th of May, 1950, a strange photo was taken by a 43-year-old farmer named Paul Trent, supposedly showing a possible UFO hovering in the sky above his property. And it has since become one of the best-known examples of a UFO caught on camera. Paul only became aware of the strange object after his wife Evelyn caught a glimpse of the object, a silver and bronze disc-shaped craft. She stopped feeding the rabbits to tell Paul to grab his camera. These two strange photos were captured before the object flew off into the distance on a misty night. Paul didn't have the film developed straight away, which some find suspicious, though he says there was still some unused film left that he wanted to use for an upcoming Mother's Day. The photos were published in the McMinnville Telephone Register and the Oregonian newspaper before ultimately also being published by Life magazine. The unexplained photos became so popular that the couple was visited by an investigator from the US Air Force. But in 1976, Edward Condon, a nuclear physicist, was asked to investigate sightings of UFOs that included Paul's photographic evidence. In his report, he stated that above the object, a pair of wires can be seen, and he hypothesized that it was likely a small model that had been suspended from the wires that are visible at the top of the vintage photo. Contrary to the disturbing backstory that Paul had presented, the supposedly fast-moving object somehow seemed to be in the exact position in both of the photos. Paul said he only had a few moments to capture the object, but it had not moved at all in the time between the photos. Researcher Joel Carpenter conducted his own investigation in 2004 and explained that the object is likely the side mirror of a vehicle. The perspective of the photos showed they were taken from very close to the ground. Paul would have had no reason to lie on the ground to photograph something that had appeared in the sky, but he might be doing so if the photos were fake. Several other investigations have also concluded that the UFO was either a model or a household object that had been strung from wires in the photo. However, there are still many people who believe that these investigations were meant to discredit him, and that Paul managed to capture one of the best and clearest images of a UFO in history. In 2008, 31-year-old Rick Dyer and one of his friends, Matthew Whitten, claimed that they had captured the elusive beast known as Bigfoot, and that they had a creepy photo to prove a disturbing backstory. The pair stated that they were in a remote wooded area in Georgia when they came upon the remains of the Bigfoot that was over 7.5 feet tall. Then they saw 3 similar beasts walking through the woods about 50 feet away. When they eventually managed to get the Bigfoot home, they kept it in a freezer and took some weird photos that shouldn't exist. What seems to be a creature with a brown fur can be seen as it lies in the chest freezer. In an attempt to further bolster their claims, the two men stated that they would be presenting the photos as well as videos and DNA evidence from the beast as evidence. At a press conference in California, the men handed out grainy photos of the creature's teeth and tongue, but many people remained skeptical as the creepy photos didn't show anything conclusive. They also refused to give the exact location where they found the animal, stating that the creatures were an endangered species, though this has been refuted by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Reserve. While creating the media frenzy over their find, Dyer and Whitten collaborated with another Bigfoot enthusiast, Tom Biscardi, who corroborated the men's claims at first, but he soon changed his story after he invited Steve Kulls, a Bigfoot expert, to examine the creature. Kulls soon solved the mystery. As they thawed the ice, he noticed that the head was hollow and that the rubber material in the foot was splitting. This was an ape costume that had been left in a freezer. When he was confronted by the two men, they conceded that they had been caught in a lie. Biscardi attempted to shift the blame onto the two friends, claiming that they had deceived him, but most people believe that he was as much a part of the hoax as his two friends were. Unexplained dashcam footage from Guangzhou, a port city in China, shows an unsolved mystery that was caught on camera in 2016. The unusual event attracted enough attention from motorists that it ended up bringing traffic on a busy road to a complete standstill. The dashcam video, which was captured during broad daylight at 3:43 p.m., shows the car coming to a halt behind other vehicles that have been stopped on the road with their passengers looking at something unknown in the sky overhead. Many of the passengers have their cell phones out, and they're recording a strange object that is hovering in the sky. And although they're speaking in Chinese, it's evident that it's causing a lot of excitement. The two passengers can then be heard climbing out of their vehicle before they join the other onlookers, and the woman starts filming the unexplained mystery with her phone, while the man looks on. A closer look at the strange object reveals that it's shaped like a disc, leading many people to believe that it's real footage of a UFO that was caught on camera. As the strange dashcam footage continues, more people arrive at the scene to record the object, with some of the onlookers climbing on top of their cars. Skeptics of the supposedly real UFO sighting have stated that they believe the object to be a smudge or an insect on the car's windshield, and that the motorists are actually filming something else entirely. Yet all of them seem to be looking and pointing their phones in the same direction where the object is situated. This has led others to speculate that these are actors in a fake video, but there's no definitive proof that either of these theories are correct, or that the object is of extraterrestrial origins. Despite the dashcam footage being grainy, it's become an internet mystery, with many UFO enthusiasts claiming that it's proof that we're being watched. Many vehicles that are driven by on-duty police officers have dash cams to review traffic stops later. But in 2009, two police officers in Georgia unexpectedly filmed an unsolved mystery while on patrol. On the 15th of May of that year, the officers were driving down a dark road at 8:26 p.m., talking about an incident where someone had kicked in another person's door. As the dashcam video continues, a strange figure can be seen darting out into the road and crossing to the other side. They cannot explain what the creature was, but they agree that it was running on 2 legs. When the footage is slowed down and zoomed in on, it clearly shows a bipedal creature running across the road, but inexplicably, it only needs 3 big strides to make it across both lanes of the street, indicating that the creature is not only very large, but that it can move with great speed, and many people believe that the dashcam footage shows a Bigfoot caught on camera. As always, there are people who are skeptical of what's been caught on dashcam video, since it would be easy enough for someone to run across the road while wearing a costume. But many others have defended the footage, claiming that it's unlikely that the officers would fake this video, and it's unlikely for a person to be wandering the back roads in a costume. Those who believe this video say it's almost impossible for a human to cross the road that quickly, and that the creature's gait only adds to the unsolved mystery. In the final moments of the dashcam video, the driver turns the vehicle around to look for the creature, but they're unable to spot it a second time. Bukit Tungku in Malaysia is home to a road many people believe is haunted, as there have been many reports of ghostly sightings in that area over the years. This theory has gained some credibility after dashcam footage was recorded showing something inexplicable in the middle of the road. The video, which was taken on the 5th of May 2017, shows Aswan Yap, a 26-year-old journalist, driving at 9:30 at night. He immediately brings the car to a stop, and one of his friends can be heard saying, "Okay, that's a bit scary," and Aswan agrees. In the middle of the road, a strange, ghostly figure can be seen sitting motionless, leading many people to believe that the dashcam video verifies other stories of paranormal encounters. To add to the unexplained mystery, Aswan told the media later that as soon as they spotted the figure in the road, his dashcam's warning lights came on, and when they checked the car's error logs, it showed that they'd been in a collision, which of course they hadn't. Much to the relief of his passengers, Aswan says that they turned around and decided to take a different route to their destination, as they were all too scared to try to navigate past the unknown figure. Responding to claims that the dashcam footage was possibly an animal or a trash can in the road, Aswan stated that it definitely was a mysterious human figure caught on camera, though he admits that the video may have been someone playing a prank or possibly attempting to stop their vehicle to rob them. Either way, the unexplained events caused enough concern for the friends to flee in terror after not only the dashcam, but the car's dashboard started lighting up with errors. It also said that the area contains a haunted mansion, and many people believe that the ghostly apparition originated there, after which it traveled to the road, where it was caught on camera by Aswan and his companions. Russia is well known for scary stories of Yeti sightings, with Siberia being the area with the most reports. But in 2016, dashcam footage taken by a driver in the Republic of Bashkortostan caused much excitement as it purportedly shows a Yeti creature caught on dashcam. The strange footage starts out with 2 people talking in Russian while driving down a snowy road at night. Some reports state that the 2 men were discussing Yetis as they drive along, and in a bizarre coincidence, a creature that they claim to be a Yeti runs across their headlights. The car engine cuts out, but later the creature's tracks can be seen in the snow as they pass over them. The driver then puts the car in reverse and returns for a closer look. One of the passengers later told the media that it was absolutely clear to them that the creature was running on 2 legs. To him, these unexplained events are not fake, because in the icy wilderness regions of Bashkortostan, no one would want to be caught outside during this time of year. Some say that this could be dashcam video of a poacher who was fleeing the area to avoid capture by the police, or that it may have been some other bipedal animal that just happened to cross the road at the right time and the right distance from the car's headlights. But many others believe the unbelievable moment shows concrete proof that a Yeti exists in the Russian wilderness, despite reports from zoologists that no proof of the creature has ever been found. Whatever the strange footage was, this video certainly scared the driver and his friend enough for them to leave. An unexplained mystery was caught on dashcam by a driver in the Kulim district of Kedah in Malaysia. And many people who have viewed the creepy dashcam video believe that it shows the spirit of a woman walking down a road called Jalan Kolam Air, which means Water Pond Road. The footage, which was recorded on the 28th of March 2018 at 3:24 a.m., shows a vehicle navigating a winding road, and as it reaches a right-hand bend, a woman can be seen walking on the side of the road in the same direction as the car. She's wearing a red kebaya, a traditional Malaysian top, as well as a long white and brown skirt. The driver of the car passes by the woman, and on the next corner is where the dashcam captures something truly bizarre. On the same side of the street, the mysterious woman can be seen wearing the exact same outfit, causing the driver to slow the vehicle down out of surprise. This could of course be a different woman who coincidentally happens to be wearing the same outfit, but the unexplained mystery deepens a short distance down the road. Shortly after passing the woman for the second time, the radio dashboard seems to change frequency, and shortly after, the same woman appears by the side of the road again, still walking in the same direction that the car is traveling. If these moments seem unbelievable, it gets even stranger when the man and his passenger navigate around a tight left-hand bend further down the road. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, the woman appears once more, only this time she's in the middle of the road directly in front of the vehicle. The two men in the car are clearly perturbed by what they had seen, as the woman slowly walks down the street, seemingly oblivious to the car right behind her, or its headlights that are pointed at her. As the man reverses the car to get away, the car's radio can be heard changing frequencies again, and the woman disappears into the darkness as the headlights leave the road. There have been rumors that the dashcam footage was in fact a publicity stunt for a then upcoming horror film entitled The Legend of Pontianak, though this possible explanation has never been confirmed. Many other viewers believe an urban legend in which the woman caught on camera is a ghost or a demon traveling on the winding road after losing her life during childbirth. Many scary broadcast interruptions are the result of pranksters or people trying to fight against the broadcaster themselves. But some broadcast interruptions are made by people trying to spread a much more important message. This happened with the series of broadcast interruptions caught on live TV in Poland in 1985. The 1980s were a turbulent time for Polish politics. Solidarity, an independent labor union, was formed, cracked down on, and went underground in the first half of the decade. Even after martial law was withdrawn and members of the organization were in talks with the government, politics in the country were still extremely authoritarian. In 1985, a parliamentary election was held, but all the candidates had to be pre-approved by the communist regime. In order to get their messages across, anybody else would need to use unorthodox methods to get onto live TV. In September of that year, a group of 4 astronomers at the University of Turin decided to take on the challenge. Computer technology behind the Iron Curtain was extremely limited, but these students were in a unique position that allowed them to hack live TV broadcasts. They were part of an international project that used small telescopes arranged over a large area to do the work of one large telescope. That meant that they had access to more technology. The 4 astronomers used a home computer, synchronizing circuit, and transmitter to hack into a news broadcast and other television programs. They broadcast messages and graphics over the top of the original content. One read "Solidarity Turin," enough price hikes, lies, repression. Another claimed boycotting the election was everyone's duty. The authorities used high voter turnout to point as a way of claiming the people were happy with the system, so the broadcast interruption was urging people to fight back against that. Each message was accompanied by Solidarity's logo. The group committed at least 2 broadcast interruptions, one over a news program and another over a popular TV show, but it wasn't long before authorities were able to track down who was responsible. Given the technology, there was only a limited number of people who were capable of committing the broadcast interruptions, and the equipment was only able to hack TVs in a limited radius. The four astronomers were tracked down at the home of Jean Hanaz, the leader of the small group. They were charged with possession of an unlicensed radio transmitter and publication of materials that could cause public unrest, and they were found guilty. However, due to their prize-winning work, they were only handed a 1-year prison sentence, suspended for 3 years. The strange broadcast interruption wasn't captured, but replications of the incident can be found online. Some of the craziest broadcast interruptions are those that use the emergency broadcast system to spread their message. The emergency system alone is creepy enough, with an eerie buzzer that demands attention, followed by a message. Usually, when you receive that message, it means there's a danger of some kind. For residents in a number of US states in 2013, that meant that the zombie apocalypse had begun. At 4 p.m. on February 11, 2013, viewers in Michigan were tuning into the local news when the creepy broadcast interruption occurred. After the buzzer, an official-sounding announcement said that the people in the area had reported bodies rising from the grave and attacking the living. The alert was accompanied by a ticker tape, which read the same message. The broadcast interruption also told viewers not to approach the zombies, but to stay indoors. Michigan wasn't the only place hit with the broadcast interruption. ABC viewers also received the same message, as well as viewers of the Steve Wilkos Show on KRTV. The scary broadcast interruption on KRTV was captured and uploaded to the internet, making it one of the most famous interruptions in history. While a young couple argued about relationship problems, the audio was muted and the announcement about the beginning of the zombie apocalypse played out. Each time, the broadcast interruption lasted a few minutes before the engineers managed to get control back of their station. Viewers were left confused, and a few contacted local authorities to make sure that the alert hadn't been real. It may have seemed like an absurd scenario, but it had used the official emergency broadcasting system. At first, there was speculation that it may have been a marketing campaign for the TV show Walking Dead. The show was more popular than ever, and the broadcast interruption didn't use the word zombie, which fits into the show. However, due to the seriousness of the alert system, it would have been a dangerous marketing stunt. The broadcasters involved all apologized and clarified that the interruption had just been a hoax and vowed to get to the bottom of it. No harm was done by the hoax, but it could have been much more serious. If the scenario had been a bit more realistic, it could have caused mass panic, which could have resulted in serious consequences. Shortly afterwards, the general manager of the broadcasters announced that they had traced the culprit to someone overseas. Whether or not they ever identified the individual is unknown, but they did discover how it was achieved. At each station, the password for the emergency system hadn't been changed from the default password, and the hackers had just used that password to start their hoax. One of the earliest and scariest cases of broadcast interruptions comes from the Soviet Union in 1966. Little is known about this broadcast interruption, partially due to how old it is, and partially due to the clampdown on information coming from the Soviet Union to the rest of the world. But what is known is that a terrifying announcement was made to the city of Kaluga. The incident occurred less than 4 years after the Cuban Missile Crisis, the point where the world came closest to nuclear destruction. Even though tensions had cooled a little since that point, there was still a fear that such a thing could occur. At some point in 1966, residents of the town of Kaluga, 93 miles southwest of Moscow, were settling down to watch TV when a scary hack occurred. An official-sounding announcement revealed that the United States had launched nuclear weapons towards the Soviet Union. The broadcast interruption was terrifying, and citizens who didn't know any better believed the end of the world was on the horizon. Given how tightly controlled the media was at the time, it's understandable why they took this TV hoax seriously and began to fear for their lives. Officials were quickly alerted to the incident and tried to assure the public that there was no launch. However, panicked citizens didn't immediately believe this. For some reason, it wasn't until a while later, when no actual strikes occurred and there was no further news of any nuclear war, that they accepted that it had all been a hoax. According to authorities, they tracked down the culprit responsible for the intrusion. It was an 18-year-old man who has never been identified. Some found this harder to believe than the hoax itself, given the technology and know-how that it would have taken to commit the broadcast interruption. Some have speculated that it was a real warning that had accidentally been broadcast, or that someone inside the government tried to actually start a nuclear war. While many broadcast interruptions are designed to get across a message that wouldn't otherwise be heard, not every attempt is successful. In 2014, a group of hackers in China targeted viewers in Wenzhou, trying to get out an anti-communist party message with their TV hacking. It captured the attention of millions of people who saw it, and the messages started to appear on Chinese social media. But within a few hours, they were gone. It started at about 7:30 p.m. on August 1st. While families were enjoying the live broadcast of a basketball game, a black box appeared on the screens displaying a message in Chinese. On other occasions, the text appeared in yellow in the bottom corner of the screen. The message spoke out against China's ruling party and against media outlets that followed government guidelines about censorship. Other messages said a one-party system could only end badly and demanded the release of political prisoners. The scary TV broadcast interruption was more than just messages, though. Images from the Tiananmen Square protests were broadcast. Around the world, the image of Tank Man, a lone, unidentified man standing in front of a line of tanks to stop them in their tracks, is one of the most famous images of protest. In China, all references to Tiananmen Square and other protests are strictly censored. The images were accompanied by messages urging viewers to remember June 4th, the day the Tiananmen Square incidents took place. The hack lasted for about 4 hours. Viewers went to Weibo, the most popular social media platform in China, to try to get information about what was going on. Images of what was displayed on their TV screens were shared, and the editor of the Xinhua News Agency International division said that it was a fierce attack. But suddenly, photos began to disappear as censors began to remove them. Even the news editor's message was deleted. However, some of the images were saved and shared elsewhere before they could be pulled. The cable company responsible for the channels that were hit by the TV hack issued guidance on how to remove the images by removing and reinserting a smart card. Who was responsible isn't clear. The messages were accompanied by the logo of Anti-Communist Party Hackers, an organization that had hit many government websites. However, the group said on Twitter that it wasn't responsible, and that they preferred to hit their targets late at night when website managers weren't at work. They did say the hackers responsible were friendly forces, though. It's not known if Chinese officials ever determined who was responsible for the broadcast interruption. If they did, it's unlikely the rest of the world would ever find out. Southern TV broadcast interruption is one of the most famous live TV interruptions. Happening years before the more famous Max Headroom incident, it's also one of the oldest unsolved broadcast interruptions. The incident happened on November 26, 1977, at about 5 p.m. In the south of England, Southern TV, which was a license holder for ITV services in the south of England, was broadcasting its regular evening news program. Anchor Andrew Green was just getting into a story about Zimbabwe when the image began to flicker and the audio cut out. The strange broadcast intrusion followed. A strange, distorted voice began to speak to viewers. He claimed to be Vrillion of the Ashtar Galactic Command. As the 6-minute broadcast interruption continued, it became clear the voice belonged to an extraterrestrial, or even an extra-dimensional being. Vrillion claimed that the Ashtar Galactic Command was responsible for the lights in the skies that humans saw. He told humanity to get rid of its weapons of war to progress into the new age of Aquarius. The voice was calm and didn't seem to be threatening anyone. The only thing the voice didn't like was humans' obsession with money. At the time, those who worked for Southern Television had no idea the attack was taking place. It wasn't until confused and concerned viewers contacted the company that they realized what had happened. After the incident, the company apologized for the broadcast interruption and claimed it was a hoax. However, the person responsible for the hoax was never found. It was determined the source of the intrusion was the Hannington Transmission Tower, one of the towers that Southern used, and a temperamental one. It would often refuse to play certain programs and would instead switch to repeats for no clear reason. But this time, someone would have to have had access to the transmission tower and the know-how of how to hack into the feed. Nobody was ever found, and both the authorities in charge of TV and the Southern Television Network itself has changed over the decades. Nobody has ever come forward to take responsibility for hacking live TV. A few believers in the extraterrestrial have suggested that it wasn't a hoax at all. If so, the Ashtar Galactic Command likely made an error putting their message across to only the south of England, and they haven't contacted us since. The mysterious disappearance of Felicia Cochran, a 26-year-old woman from Pell City, Alabama, occurred on the 11th of July, 1992, and her unsolved case remains open today. On that day, Felicia decided to go to a beauty salon, and she asked her 10-year-old daughter if she could accompany her. Her daughter decided that she didn't want to go, and so Felicia left the house on her own. Felicia, who was living with her mother at the time, got into her gray 1987 Nissan Sentra at around 6 p.m. and drove off in the direction of Birmingham, but she never entered the salon as she planned, though she was spotted outside. Witnesses told investigators that prior to becoming a missing person case, they saw Felicia arguing with someone in the salon's parking lot. Since they knew her, they became concerned to the point where they decided to call 911. But by the time officers had arrived at the scene, she couldn't be found. A few hours later, her car was found burned out on a remote road in Talladega County, Alabama. But there was no sign of her, and she remains a missing person to this day. Felicia's family has stated that they know who was responsible for her mysterious disappearance, but no suspects have been charged in the case. In her missing person report, Felicia is described as having black hair and brown eyes. She stands 5 foot 3 inches tall and weighs 135 pounds at the time of her disappearance. She may also be wearing eyeglasses. Anyone who has any information on this case or who knows Felicia's current whereabouts is asked to contact the Pell City Police Department at 205-884-3334. Felicia's NamUs case number is MP2352. Dylan Rounds, a 19-year-old man from Montello, Nevada, became a missing person on the 26th of May, 2022. And for now, his unsolved case has left investigators baffled as to whether he'll be found alive. Dylan originally hailed from eastern Idaho, but recently he lived and worked in Utah, where he mysteriously disappeared. His family owns a 600-acre farm in Lucin, where he was working, and before he vanished, he told them that he had a strange encounter. He said that he was driving his truck when he was flagged down by a man who wasn't wearing any shoes. Dylan stopped, and the man, who he said was acting erratically, asked if he could use Dylan's phone. He also asked if he would give him a ride, but Dylan thought better of it and refused. The man was found again a few days later in Montello, Nevada, where witnesses say that he was asking questions about Dylan. Dylan was last seen at the Saddle Sore Bar in Montello on the night of the 26th of May. 2 days later, on the 28th, he spoke with his grandmother on the phone, and he stated that he would phone her again later, but no one has heard from him since. When he didn't come home or contact his family, they became concerned and they filed a missing person report at the Box County Sheriff's Office on the 30th of May. That same day, Dylan was still not found, but his boots were found about 100 yards from the spot where his grain truck was left, and it seemed as if they'd been casually tossed out. FBI investigators found what appeared to be a small amount of biological material on the boots, and they've since been sent for forensic testing. Dylan's phone was last active during the call that he'd made with his grandmother, and it was found that the call was made from within 15 miles of the farm. His maroon Ford pickup truck was found at the farm. It had been freshly pressure washed, and investigators noticed that the driver's seat had been pushed too far forward for him to drive. They also noticed that it was in four-wheel drive mode, which Dylan knew wasn't working as it should. It's suspected that foul play is involved in Dylan's unsolved case, and the FBI has confirmed their involvement in this strange case. His parents are offering a $100,000 reward to anyone who has information on where the missing person can be found, alive or otherwise. Dylan had brown hair and brown eyes. He's 5'10" and weighs 160 pounds. The last time that he was seen alive, he was wearing jeans with a dark shirt and a flannel jacket. If you have any information that could help investigators in Dylan's unsolved mystery, you're asked to contact the Box Elder County Sheriff's Office at 435-723-5227. Dylan's NamUs case number is MP92744. The unsolved case of the mysterious disappearance of Deborah Mello, a 30-year-old woman from Massachusetts, started on the 20th of June 2000, following an argument that she had with her husband. At the time, Deborah and her husband Lewis lived in Taunton, where they managed a Dunkin' Donuts in Braintree. Deborah's family has stated that she was considering filing for divorce and that she was planning to keep the house as well as the children after Lewis moved out. On the day that she became a missing person, Deborah and Lewis were driving back from a doctor's appointment when they started arguing about money. The argument got heated enough for Deborah to ask to be let out of the car at around 4 p.m. Lewis told investigators that he left his wife on the side of Route 18, and when he decided to drive back to the area a few minutes later, Deborah was nowhere to be found. Her cell phone, wallet, and ID were all left behind in the car, and police have stated that Lewis is a person of interest in her unsolved case, but he's not currently considered a suspect. Deborah's family claims that Lewis failed 2 polygraph tests, but this case evidence has not been verified by investigators. Despite ground and air searches in the area for the missing person, Deborah has still not been found, and no further clues have been found either, though foul play is not suspected. Deborah is described as having brown hair, brown eyes, and stands 5'3" tall and weighs around 115 pounds. She can also be identified by a tattoo of a rose with the name Louie on her right shoulder. The last time she was seen, she was wearing a blue sundress with white flowers, a white undershirt, white shoes, and 2 rings, one containing a diamond and the other containing the name Deborah. Anyone who has information that could help investigators solve this true crime case is asked to contact the Massachusetts State Police at 781-830-4800. Deborah's NamUs case number is MP326. She'll currently be 52 years old. In 2017, missing person Bradley Wayne Allen from Fountain Hill, Arkansas, was living with his girlfriend Megan Cody and their young son on a 20-acre property owned by his grandfather. He was working in construction when he mysteriously disappeared, and years later, the missing person case still has never been solved. On the 18th of June of that year, Bradley and Megan got into an argument at the house, causing him to walk away from the property. He stated that he was going for a walk in the woods so that he could calm down and have some time to think. He told Megan that he would be back in a few hours, and so she went to sleep soon after he left. But when she woke up later that morning, she found that he hadn't come home and he still remains missing to this day. When no one was able to contact him for the next 4 days, his family filed a missing person report at the Ashley County Sheriff's Office. His bank and phone records were investigated, but it was found that neither had seen any activity since he was last seen. He was also supposed to pick up his paycheck, which was automatically deposited into a bank card that was issued by his workplace. But he never did, as his wallet and debit card were found to still be in the house. A missing persons unit used sniffer dogs to conduct several searches of the area, and the dogs were able to follow his scent for a few miles down the road before they lost his trail. It's believed that Bradley met with foul play while he was walking in the woods, but no person of interest has been identified yet. Bradley has brown hair and green eyes. He stands 5'9" tall and weighs 165 pounds. He also has several tattoos that include a spider web on his left elbow, a barbed wire tattoo around his right bicep, the word Kaylee with prayer hands on his upper back, the word Mariah with a cross, also on his back, and a tribal symbol on his right bicep. Bradley was last known to be wearing a light-colored shirt, black shorts with a red stripe down each side, black shoes, and a black baseball cap. the Ashley County Sheriff's Office has asked anyone with information on Bradley's missing person case or any other unsolved cases to contact them at 870-853-2040. His NamUs case number is MP51238. The mysterious disappearance of Sherry Ann Milton was added to the list of unsolved cases on the 14th of August 2005, when she inexplicably vanished from an Exxon gas station in Ensley, Alabama. At the time, she was in a relationship with David Burt, and her family has stated that she is a devoted mother who would mysteriously vanish without taking her son. On the 14th of August at around 2 a.m., Sherry stopped at the gas station, which is located off of exit 121 from Interstate 20 and 59 in Ensley. She and a friend had been spending time in Birmingham, and they only stopped to buy some matches while traveling home. Sherry's friend entered the shop to buy the matches, but when she returned, both Sherry and the car were nowhere to be found. She managed to reach her by phone, and Sherry said that she would be back to pick her up soon, but she phoned back 30 minutes later to say that she had gotten lost. She then tried to call David 10 times between 2 and 2:30 a.m., but he was sleeping. He later found that he'd missed several chilling voice messages, and in one of those, she could be heard saying, "Help me, please, where are you? This is unbelievable." She then called another friend in Montgomery about 30 minutes later, once again saying that she was lost. This is the last known contact with Sherry, and her disappearance remains an unsolved case. Her ex-husband filed a missing person report on the 15th of August. Witnesses at the gas station stated that they saw Sherry and her friend arguing, with the friend refusing to get back into the car. The friend then phoned her husband to pick her up after Sherry left, contradicting her initial statement. Sherry's car was found abandoned on the 15th of August in Midfield, Alabama, with no sign of the missing person. Several searches have been conducted, but they were all in vain, as Sherry was never found alive. Sherry has brown hair and brown eyes. She's 5 foot 6 inches tall and weighs 138 pounds. She has a mole on her upper lip and a scar on her nose. She was last seen wearing a multicolored V-neck shirt with stripes, tan capri pants, and flip-flops. If you have any information on Sherry's unsolved case, you're asked to contact the Birmingham Police Department at 205-254-7777 or toll free at 800-324-0326. Sherry's NamUs case number is MP4166. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But my name is Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.